Hi, this is Dan Triplett, and I'm going to show a quick tutorial on how to render out transfer maps in Maya to get a normal map from a chamfered box to a non-chamfered box. It's going to be really quick, really simple, and I'll explain some key things, but just want to get through this to show people a simple process and some of the things that the pitfalls that people might run into. So let's start. I'm going to go ahead and make a box just by left clicking there, and I'm going to go down here into my channel box and make sure this guy is highlighted, and then you'll have your channel box up. And just go ahead and change this to 100, and then I'm actually going to make it rectangular, so I'm going to make this 400 on the width. Okay, so I'm going to make two of these, and so I'll just hit Control D to duplicate this, and I'll move one of them off to the side, and then this is the one I'm going to chamfer. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Edges first, and select all these edges, and then I'm going to come to, let's see, I'm in my rendering tab, so let's go to my modeling tab, and I'm going to bring out my edit mesh tools, just left click right there and bring it right here to the side, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit bevel. And as you can see, it beveled it too much, but all I have to do is play with this fraction number right here, so I'm going to try 0.1. I think that's okay. That looks fine. And then I'll go ahead and give it 2 seconds. So now I should have this nice rounded box, rectangular shaped box. And what I want to do next is I don't want to get into explaining so much why I'm doing the next thing, but I'll give it just a brief thing. You can look into it more yourself. Let's hit W to first drop the poly bevel tool, but I'm going to actually go into my mesh tools, and I'm going to lay in with the multi-cut splits right in the middle here. So there's one. So the way I do this is I hold Control, and once you hold Control you can split it, but then once you hold Shift and Control it snaps to increment. So I'm snapped to 50% increment. I'm going to do it again, 50% increment. I know I'm at 50% because I'm hitting the grid line here and here, and then this one I just eyeballed. The reason why I do this is because these 3 points make up a true 180-degree angle, and these 3 points make up my 90-degree angle. Okay, there's reasons for it. It smooths better, it works properly. That's why I'm doing this. So what I'm going to do now is close this panel right here. I'll hit W to drop the tool. I'll right click and drag to my object mode, and then the next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and go to mesh and hit smooth, and then I'll go ahead and just hit G, or select it again, hit G, and then G. So now I know this thing is going to be definitely smooth enough to bake a nice bevel box onto this box. Okay, so this part's done, other than I'll just delete the history. So now there's no overhead on that. Okay, so this guy right here, what I want to do with this is I'm going to zero this out, so that'll bring it back to the center. And if I grab both of them, you can see that I've got a problem that these two are basically occupying the same space in certain places, and it's better to not have that happening. So what I can do is there's a couple different methods I could do here. I could leave this alone, and I can actually duplicate it again, and I can take the one that I duplicated, and I'll go into my outliner, and I'll name it, so it would be 4, P4, P cube 4 I should say, and I'm going to just name this cage, and then this I'm going to name my HP for high poly, and then this is my other my regular box. This is going to be my LP for low poly, and then I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know how I got to, oh yeah, I had them both selected. Okay, so let me just delete that guy. Okay, so I just realized I think I made a mistake. I'm actually going to delete the cube or the cage right now. And actually I'm going to make it again in a second, so because it's just a duplicate. So what I want to do first is actually lay out the UVs on this. So I'm going to come in here and hit my UV editor, and it came off on a different screen, so I'm just going to pull it in. And what you can see here is that yours may look like this. You can just turn that off. This basically is a the layout from the original box, so they didn't, you know, when you change it into being 400 centimeters, it doesn't change it in here. So what I need to do is hold my right click down, go to face, grab these faces, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just put this automatic unwrap on there. And so now you can see it's laid out basically in the right proportions. So I'm going to go ahead and close this now. This should be done. Actually, before I close it, let me just mention a couple things. When you're doing any kind of hard surface baking where you're going to be basically putting a chamfer on edges, you want to keep your edges not connected. There's reasons for it. It has to do with how the baking gets handled. The other thing you want to always have is you always want to have hard edges, so you don't want to have like one smoothing group for this whole thing. And that's actually handled here in mesh display. So let me drop this tool first before I go on. So if I go to mesh display and I was to say soften edges, and then just grab this object and pull it out, you can see it looks totally different. So I'm going to just undo that twice. There you go. Nope, one more. There we go. Okay. You just want to make sure it has the hard edges so it looks like there's different smoothing on each side. And the other way to do that manually is just if you grabbed all the edges and went to mesh display and said harden edge. So soften edge obviously softens it, harden edge hardens it. So we're good. We're almost good for baking now. So now that I have it unwrapped, now I can make my cage. So that was my mistake. I should have unwrapped it first. So I'm going to go object mode, and I'm going to hit Control D, which will duplicate it, and then I'll go ahead and here and just paste in that cage name. And then for the cage, what I want the cage to do is I want it to engulf the high poly mesh. I want to make sure that it's not occupying the same space at all. So I want it to be surrounding it. So to do that, I'm just going to come out to my mesh, my edit mesh tool right here, and I'm going to go to transform. And what it's going to do is you can see it highlighted all of my verts, and it's going to allow me to pull on the Z axis and make this thing bigger. So let's show you what that's doing. So right now in the local Z axis, it's increased by 3.18, which is 3 centimeters roughly. And what I really want is just like 0.1. That should be enough for this. And if you want to check it, you can go ahead and just hit spacebar, hold down left click and like go to a top view, and then hit 4 on your keyboard to go to your wireframe, and just make sure that that one mesh, you can get in close here, just make sure that that one mesh is outside of the other meshes. So probably easier to tell in the corner. There you go. So you can see that it's not occupying the same space anymore. It's engulfing all those. Okay, so let's hit W to drop that transform tool. And let's go ahead and just spacebar, left click and hold, and then go back to our perspective. And then I'll go ahead and hit 6 on my keyboard. So what 6 is going to be is, so when I'm baking my texture, I'll be able to see the results because 6 shows textures. Okay, so I'm going to use Maya's transfer maps. I don't typically bake in Maya, but just because a lot of people have Maya, and if they're doing something simple, you can use the transfer maps, but I typically don't do it myself. I use either Substance Painter, XNormal, or Modo. Basically, those are the 3 programs I'll bake in. Maya's is just really slow and kind of old. Now, I haven't used Arnold. They did put Arnold in the newer Maya. This is 2016. Arnold's in 2017. I haven't tried baking in that. I don't know if it does bake, but that might be really good, actually. So I'm not going to make any comments on it. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the baking part. So what we have to do is change to rendering here. And we need to go up to lighting and shading and transfer maps. And my window popped up outside here, so I'll just drag it in. Okay, so by default, whatever we have selected, it's going to automatically want to put that in the spot here, but that's not actually what we want. We actually want this to be in the spot. So I'm going to go ahead and say clear all, and then I'm going to say add selected. So now in my target mesh slot, I have this low poly selected, and so that's where it's going to bake to. But you say, okay, then why did you make a cage? Okay, what's this cage? Well, the cage is is a way to basically make a larger object so it bakes correctly, so it's outside of the object you're baking from. So in that sense, you actually can do that right here. But it's probably, well, I like to be in control of it. So like if I come here and I say 0.1, and I go ahead and tell it to display the envelope, I can go in here and can kind of see what's going on. Let's go to a top view. There we go. And let's see if we can go to 4 for wireframe. So, you know, I just feel like I'm losing control there. So that's why my answer to this is instead of baking to this low poly, I will use the low poly in the end because that's the right size, but I'll bake to the cage instead. Okay, so that's just my way of like going around this whole envelope search thing. The envelope searching can work fine. I just like to have control over it in case I like needed to move a vert. I can't move verts with the envelope part, so I can do it with a cage, like with an extra mesh. So what I'm going to do is actually just clear all again, and I'm going to go ahead and for this low poly, I'll just hide it for now. So hit Control H and it hides it, and then I'll select the cage, and then I'll say Add Mesh. So I just wanted to explain why I was doing what I was doing. And then because now I can leave this zeroed out, and if I need adjustments, I can adjust the actual mesh. Okay, so then we need the source mesh, which is, of course, the high poly. So I'm going to go ahead and select the high poly to add selected. So now these two are in here. We're basically close to ready to bake, but what they do is typically they throw a diffuse map in, so it typically looks like this. This is what you'll see, and I don't really want a diffuse map, I just want a normal map. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit normal map, and then it's doing a DDS, which is like an NVIDIA type file that's used for mip mapping. And for right now, I'm going to actually just make it a Targa, which is fine. So I'm just going to hit Targa. Targas have an alpha channel. The next thing is just the map space. Usually you want tangent. There are a few reasons for object space, but we're not going over that right now. And connect map to shader. So this will automatically make a shader and show the map on it. I typically don't use this unless, in this case I'll let it connect it for me. It'll just speed up the tutorial time. But if I have a big file that I'm baking lots of stuff in, I don't want it to make shaders for me. I want to only make the shaders that I want and not get a messy file. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to my outputs. So right now, typically this starts at 256. It looks like this, and this will usually say 2x2. And so what I want to do is I'm going to change it like I had it at 1024 because that's big enough for me, and then I'm going to change it to 8 because it's going to be better baking at the sample quality of 8, but it'll take a lot longer. And then I remove usually the filter's at 4. I put it down to 1. It's as low as it will go. And then this is usually at like 1, and I put it up to 3. So this is edge padding, and this is just this is how far outside of the UVs will the texture bake to. So I wanted to have a little bit of padding, and that's it. I mean, that's about all you need, other than make sure that you're going in the right spot here. So I'm going to go here and pick where I want it to be, and I'm just going to pick on the desktop. And for some reason they have it as alias pics. I don't even know what that is. Obviously a legacy file type, and I've already got one here that I baked out earlier just to make sure everything still worked the same in Maya 2016 because I've done this a lot but in the past. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. So yes, I want to replace the existing, and I'm going to go ahead and hit bake, and I'll pause the video because it can take a little bit. Alright, the window closed automatically after I finish baking, and I'm still in my top view, so I'm just going to hold my space bar, left click, go to perspective, and it looks like it doesn't look like it's showing up on here yet. I'm going to hide my high poly now, Control H to hide it, and I'm going to just make sure our render, we're on viewport 2.0. I find that high quality, the legacy one sometimes shows up really good for normal maps. So let's find out what's going on here. Did it make an actual... it made it, but it didn't connect it. So the object we want to actually look at is technically this guy. So let's go ahead and hide the cage, even though that would work too. But we'll unhide this guy, and then it's got some stuff on it. So put this envelope on there. I'm going to go ahead and just hit edit, delete by type history, and delete that. So there we go. So now let's go ahead and go back to our hypershade, and then as long as this is selected, you could right click here and go to sign a material, or you could just middle mouse drag right here, and it should put that on the object. I might be wrong. It should. Okay, it doesn't look like it's doing it. Assign a material. Okay. Do I have 6 pressed on my keyboard? I didn't have 6 pressed. I thought I did. I don't know what happened there. Okay, it was probably because I went into a different viewport. Okay, so here we go. This looks perfectly chamfered. It is obviously low poly, only 6 polys or 12 triangles, and it looks beautiful. That's what we're looking for. Now, if you want to chamfer more than this, you probably want to actually do it on the geo. If let's just say you needed to chamfer it, I did it at 0.1, I think, or something like that. If you need any more than that in the actual bevel, I keep saying chamfer, I should be saying bevel. Sorry, and if you want to bevel it more than this, you might want to actually do it with geo, but just keep it low poly. So this is good though. This is a nice lightweight, and it's going to look higher poly than it actually is. And then I'm going to pause the video because I want to show you one more thing, and I'll get that set up and then show. Okay, so I didn't think this tutorial would be good to be over until we had established that there's a reason why we had those early on rules that I was talking about. So this is the good one. This is the one that I baked out that had everything correct, and even if we get close, it looks good. Everything's nice and smooth. Okay. This is one that I baked out where I actually took the UVs and I stitched them together. Remember I said they had to be broken if you're doing this hard surface stuff. This one I stitched together, but when you look at it, it looks, from back here it might look okay, but when you get close to it, you'll start noticing there's always these weird edges that pop up, and it's happening. Some of actually it didn't happen here because I left that one broken, but if we come over to this side, you'll see that there's a weird edge here because that one's connected. So I'm trying to kind of prove the point of why you had to follow that. Now this is one where I messed with the smoothing groups. I had everything smooth, and this one's clearly way off. But watch this. So if I go to mesh display and say soften edges, some of this actually will look halfway decent. You say, well, okay, that kind of looks okay in certain spots, but it's actually, you know what? I just realized I think I applied that material to the second UV set. That's why it looked a little bit off. Let me move this over here, and I'll actually put the right material on. I think it's this one. There we go. Yeah. So now if I went ahead and said soften edges, it's actually interesting because almost everything looks right, except for when you get into this area, something looks wrong. Now, it's hard to notice, but there is this dipping that's going on, and we're going to look at the textures in a second to see what's happening, what changed in the textures. But as you can see, this one's 100% correct. Almost correct, not quite, not so good, okay? And the textures will reveal even more. So let's go ahead and pull up Photoshop. So here's Photoshop, and here is the good one. None of the edges are connected. There's technically a little space in between each of the UV sets, and it just looks nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the one that's way off. This is the one where the smoothing groups are all softened. Now, for a character or for something that's organic, this may be what you're looking for, and that's fine. I shouldn't say this particular thing is probably not what you're looking for, but like a rock or something like that that has all one smoothing group, that's fine. It will be fine to render it this way, but for something that's got like hard beveled edges, you need to do the technique that I was showing. Otherwise, you get this this gradation because it's trying to interpolate over the whole surface. This is the closest thing to the good one, but the difference that we're getting is that it's just this little tight corner is too tight. It's what causes that little pinch to happen in the edge. You need to allow it to have more room, and then it will look properly smooth over the whole surface. So I just wanted to present that before I went ahead and just went on from here, because when I first got in the industry, I was actually doing some hard surface stuff, and it was coming out like this, and I didn't know that this was wrong until later into my career. Even though I was actually putting assets in games that looked pretty decent because you didn't notice it too much, but it was technically wrong. So now I know, they should look good. So, all right, so we're going to continue on in baking in a future lesson. Thanks for watching.